masterclass. That's my dad.
One of the toughest concepts in this section is going to be slant versus altitude. You want to be very careful to be sure you're getting the slant, not the altitude, for calculating surface area. This gets more complicated because for volume, we're going to be looking at the altitude, not the slant. So you have to know both terms. So we need to talk about the slant versus the altitude. Now, for this particular problem, the altitude is provided as 3. That's the length from the very tip of the pyramid, or the cone, straight down to the base. Now, if I were to look at this pyramid dead on from the side, I'd see a slightly different picture. That's my dead on side view. And in this picture, my altitude is 3. For all calculations involving surface area, I'm going to need the slant, which is the distance along the side of it. That's this distance here. So I'm going to make sure I have a strategy which will calculate between the two. Here's the good news. If I look at this particular triangle, I can see that I can work with it. Because if this along here is 8, I know that distance there. That's going to be half of it, or 4. So in order to get the slant, that's this distance there, I can use 3 and 4, and the fact that I'm looking at a right triangle to calculate that slant. Now, as is always the case, you want to be careful about the Pythagorean theorem to be sure that your A, your B, and your C match up so that your longest side is your C. Sandra, which of these 3 is the longest side? The 3, the 4, or the L? Which one looks longest?
The L.
The L. Which one's the shortest?
3.
The 3. Very good. I got my helper over here. So I've got A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And now I can plug into it. 3 squared plus 4 squared equals L squared. Math happens and you get L is equal to 5. So if I were to continue work on this problem, I would be using a slant of 5 to do all of my calculations in order to get the surface area of this pyramid. I would not be using 3. That's the most common mistake, because remember, 3 represents what the height is once I've folded it all up. This 5 represents how far it actually is along the side of the pyramid as I unfold it. So the height of those triangles on my net, let's shimmy this over a little bit. Oh, we start to see some of Xander's picture there. When I get my net, this height is my slant, as is this, and as is that. All right. So that's it for slant versus altitude. Let's check in with Xander before we call it a day. What have we got here, Xander?
That black Batman up there.
Batman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you see those dots right there, those 2 are. I try to make. Well, you can't make them right out of the board. That's why I made dots.
Oh.
Because his hands are sticking out.
Oh.
And that was I'm not afraid of us. I'm afraid of us height. But Superman is not afraid because he can fly. But Superman will and Batman will jump all the way to Superman's hand. But he's afraid that he might drown.
Oh my. Well, we better end it on that note, shouldn't we? Stay tuned. We'll find out what happens to Batman. Say goodbye.
Bye.